You look like you're trapped in a video game.
I mean, that's always worth it, in my opinion. There's video games that I would want to play. So I want to welcome everybody tonight. Welcome to the Hashtag405 show with Half 100. So, Sean, thank you again for joining us tonight. It's been a couple weeks since you've been on. How have you been? Have you been enjoying Stranger Things? Have OU softball kept you entertained?
I don't know what day it is anymore. I think we're in June, so
I don't know. We could be in July at this point.
No, I know we were in July. This is Florida. I would know if we were in July, but
we're because of hurricane season.
Oh no, that's already begun. Are you kidding me? You see what got dropped on us like South Florida the other day? I was like,
no, I actually didn't.
It's here. It's been here. So,
ooh, I'm sorry.
I mean, it wasn't a hurricane, but it was the stuff is like forming in the Gulf, and then like swooping back. So that's what
because of course that's how it would usually be. Oh goodness. Well,
you're very fortunate that I'm willing to stop my binge of Stranger Things, as I'm about a little over halfway through the 6th episode of 7 that are available, and I was not really in the mood to stop. So you should be very thankful I was willing to do that.
I am always thankful because I always appreciate you coming on and chit chatting and everything. So, Sean, let's talk. Let's dive into OU sports. So it's funny that you mentioned, and even Eric Lopez mentioned, how good OU athletics has been because you beat me to the punch. No, I was going to mention something on that.
Well, no, I said that already, so you don't get to say it now.
I don't. But I want you to kind of go into that of this is kind of a good time, especially the spring sports. Like, has there really been a down sport this year with OU athletics?
If I want to be a jerk, golf.
Oh man, that's a low blow.
If I want to be
a low blow.
I'm not a big golf fan, so I always that's why when I on Twitter the past week or so, I've been like a little bit of a dick about golf because I have feelings on golf. I don't want OU to lose or anything. I thought they were going to win. According to OU Twitter, they're going to win the whole thing. At least OU golf Twitter, and boy, they didn't though. So there's a lot of hurt feelings in the golf world, especially considering who actually won it. So that's the second time we've lost a spring championship to Texas this year. First in women's tennis and now golf. So not always a great thing to lose to Texas in anything, mind you. But here we are. So
we returned the favor to them in softball, though.
Well, the good news is baseball is tied it up with Florida tonight. It is in the top of the 7th. So you beat Florida the other day, and now if they beat them now, then they win the region. So and
they move on. Yep. Are you a baseball person, or is it like it's on, it's on?
No, I'm not a baseball person, but because it's just well, number one, it's like I think Skip's done a good job this year. I can't talk at any length about it outside of hey, they're doing good. That's pretty much the extent I'll talk about OU baseball. But I have my issues with baseball in general, with like the culture of baseball and it's super hardcore fandom. And it's not just college. This like goes into Major League Baseball, and of course it like trickles down to the college level. And so, you have like some of the hardcore the OU baseball people who are, even if it's like in jest, are telling people how they're supposed to root for the team, or just kind of like giving them backhanded compliments. It's like, hey, welcome to join, but you weren't here before and you're jumping on the bandwagon. Well, I hate to break the bad news. That's how you build programs and fan bases. You think anyone, this would be blunt, you think anyone would give a shit about OU softball if they weren't winning? No one will give a shit about OU softball. But the reason people care year in and year out, because they're winning. They keep winning. And it's fun to watch. And the one thing I've learned is that softball people, the ones that are more hardcore about it, and because I talk to one on a regular basis, are way more welcoming and inviting and willing to tell you how fun the sport is and want to grow the sport. And they don't have these hang-ups about, over a century of tradition and how things are supposed to go. So that's like even guys that I've talked to, baseball fans, like, the one thing I hate about baseball is like real baseball fans. They can be utter pricks and jerks about it, and they make watching the sport not fun. So just let the sport grow naturally. If OU wins the regional tonight, which they can very well do that, and they move on to supers, great. Because I watched the run in 2010 where they were one out away from beating South Carolina, who went on to win the national title. Because if they would have won that game, they would have went on, and because they made it to Omaha in 2010. They would have made it to the semifinals, and they didn't do it. So Sonny Galway just unfortunately was not able to get it there. But hey, you lost to the champs. They won Carolina, went back to back. They became a really good baseball school, and I think Skip has a chance to make OU a pretty solid baseball school, considering the fact that where they're going in a couple of years, you're going to need to be a pretty good baseball school because competition only goes up from here. So those are my extensive thoughts on OU baseball.
Well, and I agree with you on it. For me, I'm not a baseball person. It's enjoyable for me if I go to the game and I'm actually taking stats. Like that to me was very enjoyable when I worked Sooner Vision. I worked the regionals and super regionals for those purposes for it. But when it's not, I just don't have an engagement to it. There's no interest to it. And even more so, like to me, the funnest time, honestly, and it's bittersweet, but it was during that tornado run when OU had to go play right after the Moore tornado, like not even a day afterwards. That's when it was actually very enjoyable because there was a passion you did not see with this baseball team for it, and it's very hard to describe.
I mean, and Florida went up 3-2. Looks like we're a pitching change. It's seventh inning, but yeah, it's like I said, it's just one of those things where you gotta let the sport grow naturally. If Skip can build a program and a winning program, and it's going to be a lot easier to watch the sport starting next season with the ESPN Plus deal, because I think that's another thing. It's just the average fan doesn't have the access to watch college baseball. It just doesn't have the enthusiasm and the passion as the softball crowd. And I talked to Eric about this. It's like it is not even close at times. Like the old curmudgeon baseball guys really wish they had something of the excitement level of the softball, because softball, there's just you watch OKC, you watch the games there. It's just, there's so much energy that you don't get. And I mean, all due respect to OU, like you watch a game against Texas at Globe Field, it's like there's barely any people there, and it's like, and it just like gives me that feeling. Is like, God, like is that what an OU Texas football game could look like one day at Jerry World? I mean, maybe
gosh, yeah, because Eric asked that.
I mean, maybe it won't be that bad. I don't think it'd be that bad, but it's just, talk about like, they're extending the contract with the Cotton Bowls. Like, of course, like you don't move that game unless they have to condemn the building. Like you don't do it. They're going to keep it there forever.
And if they're going to do that, it's literally going to be a home and home, and then it's right back at the Cotton Bowl at that point.
I mean, that would be preferable. You flip a coin, or you just go by who was the designated home team or the road team, whatever year, and you just go by it that way. So it's, but we're not there yet. We're going to still play. We're going to still beat Texas on an annual basis, the Cotton Bowl, like we tend to do. And
it's our vacation home.
Yeah.
Well, and to be fair to the Cotton Bowl with it, I was just there last year. It's not a bad facility. I feel like this is a lot of pressure from some of the outside of like, guys, you do need to improve a little bit.
It's an ancient football stadium, and like
exactly,
like we've had multiple talks about this and about how back in like the early aughts they had like porta potties because the plumbing didn't work the time. That's true. It was awful. Like,
don't you remember when Dad was on and he was like, "Yeah, we walked outside, used it, and came right back in."
Yeah, you didn't go there for the comforts, the creature comforts. You went there because it was an old. It feels like you're walking into the Colosseum in Rome to watch a battle take place, and that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, to their credit, they are doing their best for it. I think they need more bathroom stuff at this point, but I think the next thing they're going to have to improve on is probably those metal bleachers at that point. And they just replaced them. I just think they can get more comfortable seating.
I don't know if you're going to put individual seats. Like, that's the one thing I don't think you should do.
Oh, no. I mean, like, just make them like the OU bleachers. I think there's a different quality, I guess.
Oh, you mean
they
like
feel you need heavier seats, but I don't know if that's possible.
Okay, I see what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like some of the older classic stadiums, go there for comfort. So
yeah,
it's just one of those things you got to deal with.
Well, and here's a question for you. Speaking with baseball and softball, Eric mentioned it, and I've heard it from two different fields in about a 3-month span. I've heard people say that softball will never catch up to baseball, and that baseball is always going to be king. But then when I listened
Who the hell said that?
Some people I listened to in a live stream panel where they were talking about sports, and they're like, baseball is going to be king.
Like for Oklahoma specifically?
No, nationwide. They said baseball will never lose its status. I'm like, guys,
bullshit. Are you kidding me? Wait, baseball won't lose its status. Like, the average age of a baseball fan in this country is my age.
Yeah. It's old.
It's not getting younger,
old, but it's old. It's not.
I'm getting gray hair. All right, I'm getting old. Okay.
No, don't say that. You are not old.
I started getting. No. I got my first gray hair in 2014. I'm like, well, that's the end of it. So no, it's like baseball is dedicated to killing itself. So like again, the hardcore baseball fan out there who is in denial is like, you better wake the fuck up. Because that like Major League Baseball is like it is just dedicated to killing itself. They don't know how to promote their stars. Fewer and fewer kids are playing baseball on the little league level.
Yeah,
fewer and fewer. It's going to become ice hockey in the sense that all your best players are going to be imported. All the best hockey players in the NHL, like how many American players? Not many. They're all Canadian, Russian, Czechoslovakian, or whatever. That's where they come from. Those are the best players. Yeah. So I hate to break the bad news, but like it is like baseball's not skewing to the young crowd. It is a slow, long, methodical game. And it's just, we live in a TikTok generation now where everyone wants their entertainment like that. And baseball doesn't provide that. And that's why softball works, because a regular season game, you can watch if things go well for your team. You can win. You watch a game in 90 minutes.
Yeah.
You can watch it in less than 2 hours.
That's where I said really a sleeper sport. It will build eventually. I just see it even working Sooner Vision. I saw soccer has that because it is going to start when it's going to roughly end. And people are more engaged. The only thing is it's low scoring. That's its only issue for it. Well, but baseball's the same way.
I'm too late for soccer. Like I've already made up my mind about it. So like it's not for me. But I totally get it for other people though. So
yeah, well, but as you said with softball, it's the same thing. In my personal opinion, softball has the same vibe as football and basketball with its fans. They are dedicated and they want people there to enjoy it, as well as it's fun to watch. To me, baseball isn't fun to watch anymore. I know it's a heathen thing to say. I've always said it's time to get a pitch clock. Throw the pitch in about 30 seconds, guys. You got to do something.
Well, you don't need a pitch clock in softball, so I don't know why you would need one in baseball. So I'll defend them on that. But at the same time, it's like I don't know.
Softball's only 7 innings, though.
Well, not even that sometimes. And so, I mean, college baseball is different. They do have run rules during the regular season. Once you get to the postseason, they cut it out in every level. It's not just like for softball; it's the championship series only.
Right.
So,
right.
But it's I like the fact if you beat down an opponent, then all right, we're calling it. I love that idea. It's like if you're going to beat down an opponent, we're calling it after 5. It's done. Like, that's a smart thing to do. So why are we dragging out a game? We know it's already over. It's like I kind of felt that way the other day watching OU. Was it OU and Liberty? Just beating down Liberty. And I was like, wait, they did, because I forgot. Oh, wait, they get rid of the run rule even in the regionals. So it's like, okay. Because like you have to, I think the rule is you have to beat someone by 10 runs or more by the end of the 7th. Mm-hmm. So if I recall correctly. So, but they don't have that in regionals and on. So anyway, but it's like I was like, well, OU's won this thing. I mean, don't tell that to Oklahoma State because they had a major comeback against Missouri State today. Like if you like high scoring baseball, watch college baseball. Really,
well,
that's what you got to do.
Yeah, well, to add that in, I think baseball thinks it's going to have the UCLA. Who was it? UCLA Northwestern in baseball? It was somebody where it was like they were down 21-12, and then the team came back and won 25-22. That's not every game. That is such a rarity at this point. It's not going to happen.
The last time I had fun watching baseball, just by curiosity interest was the Cubs Cleveland series, because for me, I don't know everything about baseball, but historically, these two franchises have not won a World Series in a long time, and one of them is going to do it. That's interesting, because like I remember I was working at the radio station back then. It's like, what's the most interesting World Series for you? It's just like, well, I think it's Chicago Cleveland. It's like, really? I think that's the most intriguing one, because someone's got to break their curse, and like, no, it's got to be Chicago and Boston. This is like, or this is a, no. And I'm just like, no, in my opinion, you want Chicago and Cleveland, because someone's going to suffer a lot more, but someone's curse is coming to an end. And came down to Game 7. It was fantastic. Went to extra innings. It was everything you wanted in baseball. When baseball is good and doing its thing, it's great. But that's the problem. It's urgency. It's like having games that matter. And there's too much of it in Major League Baseball. There's 162 games.
Yep.
I know people don't believe it, but I do have somewhat of a life. I do not want to spend it watching 160 plus games of baseball. There's a reason football works. It's once a week. It's either sometimes you pick Saturdays or Sundays. Some people are crazy, and I'm watching like Thursday through Monday because I'm a psychopath. But that's just what I do. But and some people can watch multiple baseball games a week. I can't. Like, I don't even give a crap about the Sunday night baseball games, because they don't really matter. It's like they have such a small percentage of importance in the grand scheme of things. It's like I'll start paying attention during pennant races once we get to August and September. So that's when it's going to matter. I mean, the Yankees are doing really well right now. Okay, like I've heard that story before. We'll see if they can make it all the way to October. But I know the Dodgers are good. People hate the Astros for cheating. I thought the Astros cheating scandal was one of the best things for baseball, because people were talking about
it. Yeah,
people are talking about it. So, ooh, a villain, someone you can root against. There's something interesting. But no, it's just, I know Orlando had a pipe dream of trying to lure a major league team here, but I don't think that's going to happen. So it's it is what it is. And well, I mean, hell, they're cutting funding for baseball teams here because our state is run by a lunatic
psychopath. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you disagree with if you disagree with their opinions on things, they'll cut your funding for things. That's called fascism. But that's we're getting off topic here.
Yeah. I wanted to add something to baseball, because Eric brought it up, and kudos to Eric for this, because I was thinking the same thing. I can name at least 2 softball players off the top of my head immediately. I cannot name one. Okay, I take it back. I cannot name 2 Major League Baseball players right now. I know Mike Trout. That's it.
Aaron Judge for the Yankees, who is he's a star.
But I can't even name OU's baseball players.
Come on, man! You don't know Shohei Ohtani for the Angels? Like, that dude's like the best all-around baseball player in the probably in the country in the Major League Baseball. Shohei Ohtani,
but that does feed into your but
the dude, like that's the guy they need him. The dude can pitch and hit home runs. That's what makes him awesome. So, like, I know who Shohei Ohtani is. Shohei's awesome.
Do you think that they should? And it's in a theory, and I know this is not football related. Do you think they would get more people engaged with baseball again if they moved the outfield a little bit closer in, so there would be more home runs and everything? I know that's the integrity of the game, but
no, you're not gonna. It's not. You're not. I don't think like there's anything wrong with how they play the game per se. It's just, they are slaves to the old curmudgeons of the sport. Like, they bow down to when I was in Afghanistan, like the big controversy in 2007 for the playoffs of the World Series, they wanted to put or I don't know, or I think it was just like maybe regular season games, like they wanted to put like Spider-Man 3 web logos on the bases, to promote Spider-Man 3, which was a terrible movie, but that's besides the point. We didn't know that at the time. And like baseball collectively lost their minds. You can't put webs in the bases. Oh my God, the purity of the sport, because it's the most romanticized sport in the country. People were like, I would say baseball 1, and I would even go college football romanticized number 2 as when it comes, because you see the romanticism for how pure college football allegedly is or was.
So then why does it work? Because you know a little bit more of it. Well, and by a little, I mean a lot more than I do. Why does baseball work in Japan What are they doing right that we're doing wrong?
Because Japan loves the sport, because they have some of the best fans in the stands. They have like dedicated fan groups with like big drums and chants, and it's like going to a college football game.
Gotcha.
It is huge, man. Like they are into it. Like they're like, seriously, they got like the rising sun bandanas, and they got the drums, and they are cheering like it's OU Texas, man. It is a big deal. And you know what Japan's also pretty cool at? This is like a little off topic, but when baseball was so late to the game, and I mean late to the game, of maybe we should put up netting along the the first and third base lines, for these like stray foul balls, to protect people from getting killed or concussion. Japan was ahead of the game of putting up some sort of fencing to protect people, because they didn't think twice about it, because hey, if we just put up a super thin net, at some point your eyes will adjust and it's not going to be a big deal.
Right.
Just saying. Now, a softball is not really going to kill you. A baseball will. So
yeah, I've been hit at the Big 12 championship game when the tornado stuff happened. I was hit by a baseball. Didn't even realize it. I was walking up the steps, and then I felt a hard clunk down from the top of the stadium. Didn't realize they hit a ball up into the upper stands, and it hurt. And they're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." 3 fingers. Name's Josh. I think I'm good. So I'm pissed that they didn't let me keep that baseball, though. I'm like, my blood is on that. It was not really. But.
I mean, they usually let you keep. I mean, what they do the Women's College World Series, if anyone hits a home run, the ushers grab it, give it to families of the people who ran it. So I think that's awesome. So
I think that's cool. To me, that causes and saves so much drama, in my opinion.
But we got to rotate the site, though.
Because it's that home field advantage. Though.
Like if it's a Bedlam Women's College World Series, I'm just gonna circle back to all those and laugh. It's like, yeah, but it's a home field advantage for who for whom now?
What has anybody? I'm assuming people have, but has anybody brought it up?
Oh, Bill Plaschke on Around the Horn briefly did it. It's always once a year, one person does it. One person with some platform does it, and it's always entertaining. It's like, why don't they move it? Yeah, they should move the Masters too. The Rose Bowl. They should rotate the Rose Bowl side. Although they kind of did for the pandemic because they had to.
And that, funny enough, that was one of the more.
It was so weird seeing that. So weird seeing that damn logo in Jerry World. It's like the Rose Bowl's in Jerry World. This is so weird.
And it was neat, though. I mean, it
was kind of dumb, but it's like, this is so dumb, but whatever.
I mean, they made it work, though.
It's the second, I think it's the second or third time in history the Rose Bowl had to move. Like one was because of the war, because they were afraid of Japanese sneak attacks and during the war, so they moved it to the East Coast. They played it in Durham or whatever, or Duke, the Duke Stadium or whatever. But anyway.
But how you've been doing live stream, speaking of that, with softball as well with it. 3 wins away at this point, or 2? Am I off?
No, they got to win tomorrow, and then they got to win 2 games of the championship series. So they're 3 wins away.
Who is it? OSU we're expecting still at this point, or is it?
I mean,
is there a sneak team?
The way things are going, Florida's hit a home run. That's great. No. Well, if OU and OSU win tomorrow, then they're in the championship series. So someone's got to beat OU and Oklahoma State twice tomorrow. UCLA Correct. Would have to do it against OU, and I don't know who's. It's like Texas and Arizona are fighting for that final spot as well. Last I checked, I think Arizona was up. Last I checked, that game should be over. I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Texas won. Oh no, Texas won. So it'll be Texas and OSU. After OU and UCLA tomorrow. So
yeah.
So we will get that going.
Good. How is Jordy Ball looking at the moment?
I mean, Jordy has only pitched she only came in to pitch for that to get that final out, to get some in. It was a little rough outing, of course, but first time she pitched in a month, and I don't know who's pitching tomorrow. It'll be interesting to see if they go with Nicole May, because I know Hope Troutwine has been solid, and she deserves all the credit in the world. She's kind of pulled a G Juarez and kind of been the workhorse in Jordy's absence.
Yeah.
But OU has the luxury to all they gotta do is win. You don't have to be pretty, just have more runs at the end of 7 or however many innings, and you're good to go. I don't know. I think maybe you go May and then Jordy for relief, because Hope has been your go-to at this point.
Yeah.
I don't think you, because it just all depends, like pain management. I know, Patty Gassos talked about a pitch count for Jordy Ball, and so it's just we're at the point where if she can handle the pain, it's like what you got, as much as you have as little as 3 games left or as little as 5 games left. So it's just, that's kind of where you're at right now.
And switching really back to baseball, if OU beats Florida, do we know who their opponents are in the Super Regional?
Tech or Columbia, Virginia Tech or Columbia, I think.
Gotcha. So
it'll likely be Virginia Tech.
Yeah,
but
they still got to beat Florida twice though at this point with it.
No, Florida has to beat Oklahoma twice.
Right.
If Oklahoma loses, then they'll play Florida again.
Yeah. So doubleheader. Those suck. I hate doubleheaders. I hated working those. Did you ever, when you were at the radio station, did you have to do baseball commentary?
No, are you kidding me? Like, we never talked about baseball for very long on that radio show. The only reason the only reason we talk baseball is like during like this time of year. Like, trust me, there was always something to talk about the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Always. And they had weekly college football segments on that show. Trust me, any excuse to talk about football on any level we would, or in the end we're an NBA town, so we had the Magic to talk about all as well. And so it's one of those things where it's like, we'll talk about, we'll give baseball scores during the day. It was my job to get to watch. We had an MLB League Pass, and if there was like a home run, I would circle back and get audio, and keep an eye on the Yankees and the Indians today or whatever. So
when it mattered, essentially, is when it come out. It makes me think of when I had to work baseball when I wasn't doing my funniest story from it was when one of our cameramen got sick, and they're like, we need somebody in the outfield. I'm like, I'll do it. You don't realize how high up you are until you're on top of the scoreboard and you go, it's a little high up, guys. I'm kind of strapped in. It doesn't help when it's windy at 30 miles an hour and you're like this. Josh, are you okay? Uh-huh. That was always one of my fun ones with it, mostly because I was always inside working the ticker. I hated the OU TCU game where it went 23 freaking innings because what's his name needed his 1 hit per game, drove me up the wall. Anyway, let's talk football. The Champ U BBQ happened, and it looks like we got some good stuff from it. We had a wide receiver commit, which surprise, guys!
He wasn't even there for the barbecue. He was there for the camp.
Oh, really? Really? I didn't know that. I thought he was there for the barbecue.
No, that was. Well, I mean, I don't think he was there for the barbecue, but Keaton Brown, basically just he got offered when he showed up to the camp, and then he also went to the Alabama camp not too long ago, and he got offered, I think just today or yesterday, by Bama. So, and he committed to OU, and which means it's like committing to Brent Venables means you're not taking visits, you're done. So it's like, whoa, dude got a commit or an offer from Bama, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, that sounds pretty cool. He's ready to shut it down and move on. So, I mean, there's a lot of momentum for other guys right now. It's like we're gonna wait and see. There's a lot of info gathering. A lot of guys are getting post barbecue interviews. There's a lot of positive buzz, and we're getting the Brent Venables effect of people love Brent when they talk to him. He has that infectious kind of personality with guys, and so it's it'll be interesting to see if how many guys will actually pull the trigger if they do. Because there's always we want to see guys come away from the post visit high, but the barbecue is about family being there and checking things out. And I've heard stuff about how they went the extra mile this time, because last year there were some guys who don't want to say, I mean, you have like a giant visitors list for guys that show up, but they went the extra mile to make sure that nobody was just kind of sitting around in their hotel room or wasn't like being attended to. They really, really made sure that someone was like taken care of, or they were had something to do. They weren't just like twiddling their thumbs, regardless of what their star rating is. So,
Yeah.
it was overall was a really, really, seems like it was a really, really good weekend. And we're kind of waiting to see guys like Peyton Kirkland down in Orlando here out of Dr. Phillips. He's a big time offensive lineman. Like, there's a lot of good buzz about the offensive line. That there's talk that maybe Bill Beanbow will have his offensive line class even ready to go before the season starts, potentially, all verbally committed. So it's just, you're seeing the important positions addressed, and building in the trenches. And there's the pie in the sky guys like Anthony Hill, who had a great visit recently, and you're really like reaching if you think you're going to get him, but you still made a good impression with him, and that's the important thing. So I think you can still put in a really good solid top 10 class when all things are all said and done come December.
Yeah.
But we're just kind of we're starting to get guys to say, yes, I'm going to commit, and I'm shutting it down. So we'll see where things go. But running back sounded good. We're kind of waiting to see like the Smothers kid. Jacoby Johnson is an athlete. I think they're looking at to play corner.
Yeah, I heard a lot of raving about him, that he loved the barbecue over the weekend. They said, especially with him being an in-state recruit, they really wanted to keep him at home. But he apparently had all praise. Like, he was loving it.
Yeah, so he's a 4-star athlete, and
out of Mustang.
Yeah, out of Mustang, and just it's just we'll see how it happens this week, and be a double dip, get to cover softball, maybe get a few commits for June. So.
Yeah. Is there anybody that seem like they has any other rave or anything, I guess, buzz coming out from other people? Because here's my question. I asked this last live stream, and even 2 weeks later, I can't think of anybody. Even under Tebow, was there anybody that actually did end up committing at this point from it? Or
guys, this is where you set a foundation for certain guys. If they don't commit right away, they have this experience, because it's about, you're trying to reestablish Oklahoma. It's you're introducing a slightly more positive and uplifting culture to the program.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. I mean, like, there's a lot of, some guys there's guys who've committed, like, maybe not right away, but what they want to do is, it's like they'll set a date, like, because July is a huge commitment month. Guys love to do the CBS All Access thing. They get like their 15 minutes, and they're on television. They're on a stream. They get to pick a hat. So you're probably going to see some guys in the next week or two, potentially. Hey, if you see guys who went to this barbecue all of a sudden say, hey, I'm announcing my commitment on July 4th weekend, that's a good sign for Oklahoma. I don't know who that's going to be, but if you connect the dots, if like someone takes a visit somewhere and they say, I'm going to announce a commitment this day, good momentum for Oklahoma if that happens. So it's happened the past couple of years, and we'll see how that rolls out in the next week or so. But it's just, everyone's kind of like right now they're collecting stories. They're trying to get reactions. Everyone's trying to, some guys are trying to play catch up, because the whole the whole commitment, like, this one came out of nowhere for OU. Like,
right, because he was reported that he wasn't.
Keon Brown came out of nowhere, because he literally just showed up, got an offer, and he was ready to go. And you got a guy who's 6'3", who's like close to 200 pounds, who's got great speed, and it's just like who was the most impressive guy at OU's camp last week. So another win for Jeff Lebby and his offense, getting like big, tall receivers who can make plays. Can't really complain.
Speaking of coaches and stuff, that's the two things I've heard as well from the buzz from it was DeMarco and Schmitty got a lot of praise.
They started off-season workouts already, so it's everyone's like a lot of offensive linemen got to look at like what the off-season workouts looked like, and Yeah, Caden Green was one of those guys apparently, and is like, yeah, it's the real deal. So it's great to have Schmitty back for that. Considering that after he left, things kind of trailed off a little bit, and you have to
By a
wonder.
little, you mean a lot.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if how that affects Oklahoma and how that affects Texas A&M, because you lose Jerry Schmidt, like top 3 strength and conditioning coach in the entire country. He's won national championships pretty much everywhere he's went except A&M. But it's the fact, everywhere he's gone, he's won it. He's been responsible for winning a national championship. So
Yeah.
it's not going to happen probably right away, but in a year or two, be interesting to see what the outcome is. But I like Oklahoma's chances.
There was a story about Schmitty that reminded me, when we're talking about him, of when I was talking with a former player. They said if you ever knew about the Bud Wilkinson workouts, it's what they remind of Schmitty now, where it's like, if you puked, cool, now you're rolling across the field.
Or you weren't allowed to have water and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The old barbaric ways, or the Junction
Yeah.
Boys with like speaking of Texas A&M with Bear Bryant. Yeah.
Yeah.
There would be a congressional hearing nowadays for some of the stuff that they did back in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah. Well, it makes me think of the Bud Wilkinson one,
that crap.
where Bud, if you got in trouble under Bud, he make you run laps, and then if you puked, he's like, all right, run stadium steps now. What? Like, no, you puked, run stadium steps. So yeah, that would be stuff that would be a little bit frowned upon today, just a little bit. I have my list up for it. Any news about Anthony Hill
No.
from camp? What about?
No, like I already mentioned Anthony Hill. He had a good visit, but I wouldn't hold my breath on him.
Okay.
Like, I'm not saying it's impossible you could get, the best linebacker in the country, Brent Venables, but you're still fighting that uphill battle with A&M and what that class they pulled in. And, they bought every player, of course, according to Nick Saban. Nick Saban never tells a lie.
Because he's an angel. But coach.
But the one thing, if you're Oklahoma, you're just gonna have to be patient on, is the fact that you don't have a product on the field under the current coaching staff. You have to put something out there on film first, because you're kind of like, well, I can show you some Clemson footage, but what kind of will look like, but you don't have anything in your uniforms. I mean, if you want to break out like 10-year-old tape of like Brent's last couple of years, you could, I guess. I don't know, but you're not going to have the same thing with like everyone else on your defensive staff. So okay. I think that's one thing you have to keep in mind. And it's just like the 24 class is where I think you're going to see potentially that really big jump in talent, like the top tier guys you can really go after, like the David Stones of the world. Like David, like number one, he's an in-state guy, even though he went to IMG down in Florida, and OU is just collapsing in baseball right now. It's wonderful to watch. They are just like totally collapsing the top of the 8th.
I'm betting they're just ready to go move on to the next game at that point, just saving everybody.
Who knows? But no, like David Stone is likely going to be like a 5-star guy, like the biggest in-state recruit at D-line since Joe McCoy. So you're still going to have to fight for him, because other schools who get 5-star D linemen don't care what state you're in. They're still going to say,
right.
But it's, like 24 has a chance to be really good. But you want to have a good 23 year as well. So
correct, because it's what you said earlier. It sets that foundation up. Here's my next question. So Anthony Hill, what about Wilkin? Anthony Hill, do you think he's going to end up at A&M, or do you think Alabama? That was kind of the other one I had on my list.
I mean,
that seems to be really going after him.
One of the two like big 5-stars that everyone kind of wants that OU kind of has a shot at, like, DJ Hicks and Anthony Hill are, those feel okay. So those guys feel like A&M leans. I think Hicks has a really good. We have a really good puncher's chance for him, because they really, really love Todd. Like the family loves Todd Bates. So I think OU has a good chance, a good fighter's chance to win that battle. Will they? It just depends. Because you don't know if NIL is going to come into play at all, if like just loving the position coach is enough.
Yeah.
But it all depends if OU has their NIL thing up and running by the time they're ready to get rolling. Because I know they have like the collective, and everyone's trying to figure out if collectives are the root of all evil now or whatever. Like I heard they're upping their thing to 60 grand a year now for all the players and whatnot. But I don't care what they do as long as they get it rolling and they have something to work with. But
I mean, that's what's hurt. I saw this one today, and it's what's hurt Stanford because they were asking why does David Shaw not that good anymore? It's because they can't accept any of these guys early because of Stanford's admissions and stuff. But what about Wilkin Formby? Anything about him because he was on our list, but
I
Ole
don't
Miss
know.
was the lead.
Like they're again, like it's only Sunday night and they're still getting guys like reactions. So it's gonna be like a couple of days before you really start getting a feel because you got to have that post visit high kind of go away. But you know, you look on social media, you look at just the things that OU like the one thing I noticed about a week or two ago is like you were seeing hype videos for barbecues, recruiting barbecues. If you would have told me that 10 years ago, I'd be like, what? We're doing hype videos for a recruiting barbecue? Like, I've always heard legends of the recruiting barbecue, that they would do it at Bob's house or whatever.
Yeah.
And now we're getting hype videos. Now they do it at the stadium, of course, and whatnot. But it is kind of insane how it has become like a circled like event for off season because OU's not the only one who does this. But it's just gotten to the point where it's like everyone has a big summer recruiting event and everyone's treating it like people are treating it like it's like the NFL has like a big event almost every month in the off season. Like you have, free agency, the combine, the NFL draft, the schedule gets released, mini camps, camp starts, preseason. So like, these big, like you have the big recruiting barbecues in June, and then July it has kind of become a month where a lot of guys want to make public commits. So
yeah,
we're starting to get like those every month. There's something to focus on, even in college football. May is kind of like one of those tweener months, but January you have the national championship. February you have National Signing Day
too.
March through April you have spring football and the spring game, and then
the NFL draft.
Yeah, I guess the draft draft late April, early May, depending on what it is. Yeah, I guess it's the crossover event there. So it's just become a huge event.
Yeah, and June, as you said, is the barbecue. July is kind of well, you could say in a sense June and July is more media stuff because July is the Big 12 media days, SEC media days.
There's no way Hicks goes to Michigan State. Not a chance in hell.
Really?
No way he goes to Michigan State.
So, here's the next question.
And look, I love Mel Tucker. I think Mel Tucker's fantastic. I think that dude deserves his money. I think everyone's like, why are you giving all this money, Mel Tucker? Dude walked in during a pandemic, didn't know his players' names, and beat Michigan after losing to Northwestern. And then look what he did last year. So I'm not taking anything away from Mel Tucker. And I'm sure he'll be able to get some guys. Like 5 stars don't go to Michigan State in football. That just don't happen.
It's kind of like the Houston.
Michigan State's not like a rich school either. So I'm sure they have some donors and whatnot, like all these big schools do, but I'm not buying. Like, let's get to December and we'll see if he goes to Michigan State.
Gotcha.
He'll go to OU before he goes to Michigan State.
Well, yeah, for the notoriety just on its own. What is there anybody from spring camp that you're looking forward to comments from to see like did they or spring camp the barbecue that they enjoyed it? Anything like anybody specific on it? That was there.
Not really. I mean, there's not one guy. Like, there's so many guys there. I mean, I always take my mentality with all this stuff. I take it with a grain of salt. Like, I'm excited. Don't get me wrong, but are these guys like taking other visits? Are these guys going elsewhere? Everyone like has their own timeline. So it's like last year when everyone got in Twitter spaces and everyone's was trying to hype up and talk about how we're going to get like 11 billion like big time players. And guess what? It didn't happen.
Yeah.
They want to hype up all these things. And it's like, because I was having a conversation about recruiting earlier today, and ironically, we finally got a commit today. But
And a wide receiver, Sean, if I recall, you said wide receiver.
Yeah, wide receiver trended down because we lost Ashton Cozart. Wide receiver trended down. People don't even follow recruiting.
Which I have to give you a side joke on that, where it's like, you once told me, it's like, I can't do anything anymore because I have to pay attention. Like, how do you go through recruiting?
You like, I'm almost glad I'm almost glad Brent is our coach now because of that reason, because he doesn't take commitments unless you shut down recruiting. It's just far less stressful now, because when you get a guy like Brown who commits today, now does that mean that he can't change his mind and decommit and like take a visit, or like, no, like that's possible. Like Ashton Cozart did that, but
Brent takes that personally, though, too.
Oh no, but he like here's the thing: it hurts recruiting business. It's not like Brent being the coach for OU recruiting websites. The way he does things is not good for business, considering the fact, he doesn't take your verbal commitment, unless you're going to shut it down. And most of these guys don't want to shut it down. They want to take all 5 of their official visits. They want to get treated like kings. They want to have the royal treatment. It's very hard for 17-year-old kids with talent to turn that down, because they see on social media, they see what these trips are like. They want 5 of those experiences. And so they're going to take as many. Yeah, and it's free, and they want to take as many of them as they possibly can. And
there was one, Sean, where I remember, I want to say it was 2016 when we faced Ohio State at home, and he wasn't going to commit. And they said, "Why are you going if you're not going?" Bro, it's a free game to Ohio State versus OU. I'm going to.
Are you talking about like the Marvin Wilsons and those guys and the Jeffrey Okuda? I think was there.
I think that was it. Yeah, the last name is, I remember a Jeff, but not Jeffrey.
It was nice we got to host him, and then of course, where does Okuda go? Oh, I guess the school that whooped our ass on that field. Hey, what are the odds? And Jeffrey Okuda's kind of a bust in the NFL anyway, but that's not true. Yeah. But the problem is that for recruiting websites, like sites like Scoop, they have different mentality on doing things, and like there's a lot of people on the boards complaining about like coverage and things and this and that. And then you got the other website like 24/7 who will give you all the nuggets and tidbits in the world, but I don't think they mean as much. Like, I think 24/7 tries to put out as much stuff as they can, anything they hear, to get you all excited, so they get you to buy a subscription and all that. And then Scoop is like, it seems like they're not doing much, because you're not seeing as many commitments as you would this time of year. Because I kind of went back and looked around this time of year. I think for the month of June, we had it was a combo of like 5 or 6 commits or big time transfers.
Yeah.
And so there was like every couple days, there was something to talk about with like a commitment or a transfer to get you a little excited. So you're not really seeing. Now you can still have transfers, obviously, potentially, because the transfer portal never closes at this point. It almost never does. You would have had to have transferred by the end of May or something if you want to be eligible this year. So it's not going to. But the point that I'm trying to make is,
closes. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. But the point is that with Brent doing things, you're not going to potentially see as many guys pull the trigger and make the commitment, because as I mentioned, they want to take all their visits. They want to see other places. They want to, like, Brent's not playing that game. It's the Clemson did the same thing. They were closers. They close very well. So we're going to get to, you're probably going to see a lot more uptick in recruiting September, October, maybe even November. And because you're going to try to pack in as many guys as you can in that early signing period in December. And if you can do that, and sets you up for, okay, what else do we need to get through February? Because you're still going to have guys who are going to wait, who are going to commit at the All-Star games and whatnot. And then you go from there. And a lot of the 5-stars are going to wait till the All-Star games too. So, because they want to have they want to do it's not the Army game anymore, but the All-American game, or the Under Armour game, or wherever that may be. So,
yeah, well,
it's just a different beast now. And plus NIL is going to affect everything as well. So,
well, it's what you mentioned to me last year, and I think even Phil Steele has said it now. It's like, he publishes his book, but at this point, if you're not looking online,
like Pick Six Previews is like the one that can always update because it's digital.
Yeah.
So it's just like I feel bad for Phil because like Phil's magazine is like good to go right now. Like it's about to go to, if it hasn't gone to press already, it's about to.
Yeah.
And you're about to walk into, your Barnes and Noble or wherever magazines are sold, or you can get the VIP package. Like I think Phil is going to have to. I mean, he works on that magazine like 365 anyway. So
Correct.
I think he needs to find a way to make that thing digital. And we're used to playing video games. We get patches and updates even on consoles. So I think he needs to be prepared to make patches and updates for his magazine for digital copies. And so that way it's not, because like you just never know who's gonna pull a Jordan Addison, go from Pitt to USC, or Caleb Williams go from OU to SC or whatever. So you got to be able to make those quick adjustments because
it's outdated the moment it hits the stands at that point.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. But
and here's my curiosity question.
I haven't bought Phil Still in 2 years.
Does that pain you? Does
that really? No. Well, one was the pandemic year because like this is useless.
Right.
And then last year it's like, nah, I'm not going to.
Well, it always made me think of the guys who had like their shelves. I've seen pictures where they have like stuff dating.
I mean, I've got them like in my over here somewhere, like stacked up in a drawer. But it's like
you don't need them.
I mean, it was cool when I was in Afghanistan. It gave me something to read during the day while I was waiting in the summer.
Yeah. For you being broader question, for you being a YouTuber, you mentioned 247 versus Sooner Scoop. How does this affect you for like reporting stuff? That's always been a curiosity.
Oh, it sucks because of the off season. Because listen, I read stuff from those mostly from Scoop and other places, but it's like I'm not going to use that info and get on camera and said I've heard this or that for my own channel because it's not my info.
Right.
It would be kind of like, I'm just basically, you don't want to be that guy who's known as like stealing, premium content for else. Or what I do is when someone makes a commitment, I do my due diligence. Like if I know someone's about to, like I'll do my research on a guy and talk about, hey, he went to a camp, this happened. And I try to use things that are public, that are out there. Like, here's an interview he did after this camp that you can watch for free on YouTube. That's not premium content. That here's someone who, and if it's like, if someone from Scoop did it, put it out there. Hey, Josh McCush was out there. He interviewed him. He said this, and that. Mm-hmm. It's not, I'm not stealing from him because you put it out there on YouTube for everyone to watch for free. So I can comment on it. I can make comments.
Gotcha.
So it's like, you don't want to be that guy who's like, oh, he just steals premium content. No, I follow it just like a lot of you out there. And like, I'm not going to like go out here and say, hey, I heard, because a lot of guys can do that. It's like, I've heard rumors of this and that and try to like up their view count. It's like, that's kind of tacky. You don't want to do that. You don't want to be that guy who just steals other people's hard work.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, we got a 4-star wide receiver. What are people saying about him? What is this and that? Like when he committed today, he did like an interview a few months ago talking about his visits and whatnot. So I watched that. And just to get an idea, and plus I wanted to hear how his name was pronounced. I don't know if it was like Keaton or Caton or excuse me, not Keaton, but I'm sucking today. I want to say if it was like Keon or Kaon is what I was saying. So I'm running my mouth is going like 100 miles an hour. I'm trying to catch up with it.
But, it works out for you and it was just a curiosity thing because I remember back where it was not 2 years ago. It's like, I have no life. I can't do anything because someone can drop stuff. Now it's like everything's kind of like settled a bit where it's like, okay, we kind of have ballpark dates when stuff happens. Like today's a random one with it, or we'll get a verbal, but it's nowhere near the craziness that it was.
I mean, no, this one developed over the course of a couple of days, which makes it weird. Like usually you would have heard, hey, they talked to this guy last year when he was a sophomore. Or no, he showed up to camp, got an offer. A couple of days later, he commits. Yeah, that's not the norm.
Yeah,
so we've been trying to flip the safety from Notre Dame for a while. We keep on waiting for it to happen. We're still waiting for it to happen. So that one would make more sense. But anyway, it's It is what it is, but I think we're gonna start. I think now that the first one's happened, we might see. We'll see one or two more before the end of the month. I want to say. I know that's like
Yeah.
I know that's like a vague. It's a big window I just gave, but we'll see what happens. I don't expect any of the super top tier names like the Caden Greens or Anthony Hills and Hicks aren't going to commit now, but there's a lot of like really talented 3 and 4 star guys that could pull the trigger. So we'll see.
Do you expect us to have a big July 4th event like we've used to in the past, or do you think Venable is going to pass by that at that point?
That's what the barbecue is.
Well, no. I mean, we had the June one, but then July usually was like that big commit day where we get a lot of people committing.
Well, July, like I said, July is a big commitment, and the July 4th weekend is like guys have to like announce, hey, I'm going to commit on this day, and usually they, hey, CBS All Access, or they'll reach out. You want to commit live and do your 15 minutes spiel about how you want to thank everyone under the sun, and then we'll take a commercial break, come back, and then you pick a hat.
Gotcha. And they do the fake out.
Like you'll have a bunch of those still in a month, but like, whoa, you have some, maybe we'll see. But like again, it's like we have to wait this week, next week, whenever.
Do you has it ever been occurred with the recruits that they don't want to be the first one and they're just kind of waiting, I guess, for the first recruit to do it before like, all right, I can do it now. Do they not want to be that guy, I guess? Or is that even?
I don't know. It's everyone's different, but I think Kane, like I think in the chat, Kane Green's like July 8th, so that makes sense. So like again, July is a big month. Like July is a big month because it's right before they get started for their senior year in high school. So a lot of guys want to get that out of the way. It's like, okay, I'm done recruiting, but some guys will still want to take trips in the fall for big games. It's gonna like Texas. That's why Texas fans are pissed. Like it's gonna be tough to get guys to come to Texas, Alabama, because it's a noon kickoff or an 11 a.m. kickoff, and guys have high school football games the night before. So unless you're really close by, unless you're a Texas high school recruit, and even then, because how giant the state is, it's still not necessarily an easy travel day for you because you're playing the night before. Are you going to catch a red eye to get to Austin and then like make it that game? You're going to be exhausted. And, there's two ways to go about it. You can either have the big event leading up to the game, or you can go to the game and do stuff afterwards. It's just,
Yeah. Well, and that's a great segue. That was actually what I wanted to talk about next with you is we had TV times announced for the first 3 games and some stuff changed with Iowa State now being a Saturday game versus a Thursday night game.
I have no idea why they did it. So I think
it could be a TV thing with it, and that's why. Who knows?
I mean, it could be Joe Castiglione just said, "Nah, we ain't doing it."
It could be that,
but he went. Oh, you hate playing those games. They don't want to do that shit. So someone probably says like, "Nah, we don't want to do it." It wouldn't surprise me if like some of the athletic department was like, "Nah, move that shit to like." And it's not even there. It's not even in there. It's not even a home game for OU. Maybe it was an Iowa State thing as well. It's like, eh.
Yeah, it could be that too. I mean, their expectations are low this year. I mean, they're bottom of the barrel expecting, they hope they get 6 wins because of how much they lost. But with the TV times with it, we got UTEP at 2:30, which is, that's going to be a hot game. I'm going to have to start hydrating now. It is going to be a hot game. We've got Kent State. That's going to be the ESPN Plus game at 6:00, and then Nebraska at 11. I know you said you were surprised at it being 11. I'm not. I expected that they haven't done anything. Why would they get a night game or that even entertain that thought for it? I almost expected it to be an 11 a.m. before a 2:30 or even a 6:00 kick from it. But did you have any other surprises from the 3 games announced? Any from it outside of the Texas, Alabama people saying, we can't believe they're actually doing this. We told you they were doing this.
I'm sorry, say that again because you want to all here, there, everywhere.
So with the OU TV times, you mentioned Nebraska you were surprised that it was an 11 a.m. and you expected it to be.
I thought ESPN would have like first dibs on that. I mean, they not necessarily would, but they just Fox was able to grab that one too, and Nebraska fans are now feeling the same pain that we did last year. So Oh,
and
well.
feeling the same pain that, as you mentioned, with Alabama and Texas for that as well, that they
Well,
want
yeah,
it to
because
be a big game.
listen, listen. As much as I love Texas and everything, I don't think they're gonna do shit this year. It is a crime that game is a noon kick. It really is. Like you can tell big noon too. Like I know the Big Ten loves their early, their noon game. Like the Ohio State Michigan game is always a noon game, and OU Texas is always is always a noon game. But it's like not everyone else feels that way, and it's just like uh it's a preview of an SEC game or whatever, and down the road, and like we're not going to be on Fox anymore in a couple of years. It's all going to be under one umbrella with the mouse. We're all going to be like ESPN, ABC, and all that stuff. So,
but you're telling me that you don't that is tradition. What about Florida, Georgia? Why don't we move that tonight, Sean?
that they did once,
and it was a horrible idea.
Yeah. Let's have the world's largest outdoor cocktail party at night.
Let's
start the day drinking early, and with those two fan bases, good lord.
My buddy, one of his hobbies is he'll turn into the police scanners to listen to events like that. That was one of his highlights. He's like, "Oh, this is fantastic." He's like, "I just sat back and just listened to it. Just kept going and going." I'm like, "I bet it was a lot of fights." He's like, "Oh, there was a lot of fights." So, but it is what it is for it. I'm not surprised that Kent State got the ESPN Plus. I thought that OU really wanted it to make a statement that they wanted Venable's first game on television for it. Were you surprised that OU Texas got ABC again?
A little bit. I thought that would immediately go to Fox because they love to get that, but I'm fine either way because the game is going to be 11 a.m. noon anyway.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Now here's the flip side of it. You mentioned SEC stuff, and I wanted to talk about that too because that was kind of the talk the past week was the SEC literally coming to a stalemate on what they want to do as a format. What are you wanting from the format?
I want them to not. I want the SEC to not be whiny little bitches.
Specifically, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and
no. The programs. It was Kentucky. Like it's the lamest excuse in the world. We're not going to be able to play Louisville. You won't, but you have 3 non-conference games. Well, we got to have our cupcake games.
Yeah, you and I thought the same thing. I'm like, you can get Louisville in your out of conference schedule.
Well, no, this is their excuse because the other conferences aren't going to do what we're doing. I thought you were the SEC. I thought you're the biggest baddest motherfuckers in the block, and you just beat everybody by 1,000,000 points regardless. So. Yeah. I thought, so it's too hard now. Listen, Georgia would have like a monster schedule potentially in a couple of years. They would have like their entire non-conference slate based on if you did like the 3-6 model would be. I think they would have Georgia Tech, UCLA, and someone else. They would be all Power 5 opponents, which I that's what I want at the end of the day. I don't want to play FCS teams. I don't want to play G5 teams anymore.
But Sean, that's how they get their paycheck. No, it's not.
No. I want like all Power 5 versus Power 5. That's what I want. Because at the end of the day, if you're a fan, I don't care if you're watching on television, you're a season ticket holder, whatever. You know what really sucks at the end of the day? If you're a college football fan. In your team, and OU is playing Pissant State, and we're playing Missouri State, or we're playing Kent State, or whatever. Yeah, we're like we're a primetime kick. You're a hardcore fan. You're going to watch your team whoop up on Kent State. But there's like you want to watch something like Georgia and Oregon. You want to watch Texas, Alabama. You want to watch, and there's another big game that you'd rather be watching because you love the sport. And the other games matter. That's my problem. Like, yeah. And it's worse if you're a season ticket holder. And if you're an SEC fan, depending on what school you go to, what year it is, sometimes your home slate conference-wise sucks. And then you add the garbage games, the body bag games that no one wants to sit through and watch it and pay for. And so, like, if you want to keep like your 85 million rivalries in the Southeastern Conference, just like the Big Ten wants to keep their 64 trophy games they have, you got to do the model where you have 3 permanent opponents and you rotate with 6. You play 9 conference. You can't add 2 teams, let alone Texas and Oklahoma, and not increase conference game allotment. If you don't do it, it's like pointing to because other teams won't do it, what the college football playoff is going to look like or whatever. I just think it just makes you look weak. It makes you look sad and pathetic. It's the mindset of, well, coaches would get things in their contract, whether it was like football or basketball. Well, I get a bonus if my team is bowl eligible, or I get a bonus if I take my team to the NCAA tournament. Okay, there's 64 slots. I would hope you get your team to the NCAA tournament. There's 64 spots. You better grab one of those if we're paying you that type of money. Like being bowl eligible in 2022. Are you kidding me? Like that's not an achievement. If you're touting being bowl eligible in 2022, your ass should be fired, and that includes Brent Venables.
Yeah,
if Brent Venables touts about being bowl eligible at the end of 2022, I want to smack him in the face. Yeah, bowl eligible. You're the guy who talks about the standard and this and that. If I ever hear a head coach at Oklahoma, hey, we're bowl eligible, guys. You know what? You know when that was okay to say? 1999, because we sucked for 10 years. That was the only time it was okay to say that. After that, the standards go up.
Right. It's like Nebraska. Like if they said we're bowl eligible, it works right now because they're bad. At some point, yes.
I don't want to hear this bowl. Like I hate people who think the bowls are still cool and fun. No, they're awful. I don't watch this garbage. I don't watch like dude. It took me a while to watch a bowl game last year. Like to actually sit down and watch one that. Like I skipped most of them because they're garbage, and the player, and like Barry Tremmel said it best: if like the players don't care about them, why should I? I've been saying that for a while now. Like what really killed it for me, it was official. It's like when Florida decided they didn't care about the Cotton Bowl. It's like, well, that was it. It was over. It was over. Even it was granted it was a pandemic year, but I think that was just like that's a smoke screen.
Yeah,
the big time players didn't want to play. It was over. It was done.
Let's add this in too. Like that's why whether the rest of college football wants to admit it or not, the SEC's right of you got to expand it because your people who own these bowl games are going to force you to expand because they're losing money on it.
Well, no, the TV networks want the 3-6 matchup because you'll keep your rivalries and everyone will play each other every 2 years. Done. Yeah. You could set up. You could do a home and home. For like two sets of 6 teams to do a home and home for another 2 sets of 6 teams the next year. Or you could just like alternate. Yeah. Play this set of teams 1 year home, this set of teams away, this set or however you mix it up, so forth. So if you're a player that's there for 3 to 4 years, you play everybody, you'll be in every stadium, you won't miss out. Because there's been I've screamed about this for a while. Just like look at the head-to-head SEC records for some of these teams that don't play very often. Bama and Florida don't play very often.
Correct.
Florida and Auburn don't play very often. And that used to be kind of a thing in the 90s. Like Auburn upset Florida one year back in the 90s. That was a big deal for Steve Spurrier. Like Florida Auburn used to be a game people it was an under the radar game you'd circled to the SEC. But because now it's not anymore because you rarely see these teams play each other because it's a combination of playing 8 conference games and you have these stupid crossover games that's just there to protect 2 rivalries, Bama, Tennessee, and Georgia, Auburn. And if they're dropping the divisions, all divisions are going away permanently. They're done now. They are gone forever. So this year and next year, next year, maybe probably 24 as well. Divisions are going bye-bye. And there's so many people who think like there's the sanctity of the divisions. They've been around a while, but they haven't been around that long.
Right.
And plus, whenever I hear people complain about, oh, you want us to play 9 conference games, play a big time Power 5 opponent, and a conference championship game, who does that? Oklahoma's done that, motherfuckers.
Yeah. Like a lot.
We went on the road and played Ohio State. Played everybody in our league and played a conference title game and made it to the playoff. I don't want to for a second hear about y'all complaining. Where the Big 12 side stuff is the SEC. Sure, I'll give you that. But you know what? We still did it, bitches. We still went on the road in Columbus, went through our schedule. We dropped an Iowa State game we probably should have dropped, won the rest of them, won some tough games on the road. That Bedlam game was not easy. Then we had to beat TCU twice. And so we went and did that. And then we came within like double overtime of playing for a title. So I don't want to hear for a second about your whining and complaining when it's something Oklahoma's been doing for quite some time. We've done the 9-conference game thing, done a conference championship. We play a Power 5 opponent you've heard of every year. At least we attempt to. So I don't want for a second. And then you got Georgia potentially maybe backing out of our game, depending on how things go.
Yeah, and that's just more logistics more than anything. That's not even
they're scared. Because the problem is that the home and home is like Norman in 23 and playing in Athens in 31. Well, I mean, we might be playing them in Athens in 31 anyway, regardless, depending on how the schedule works out. But it's just, if we end up in the SEC in 23, you can still in theory play the game, be a conference game. You just have it on the schedule regardless. But like, I'm not mad if like Georgia, I wouldn't be as upset if they pulled out of that game because, well, we're going to play you anyway at some point. Yeah. I get that. And plus, Georgia's one of those programs who plays teams like they're not bitches either. They've had years where they've played Clemson, they played Georgia Tech.
Yeah, to their credit, they go out and find opponents. Like they do the neutral site thing from time to time, but they go play home and homes, or they go they play Clemson on the road. They played Notre Dame on the road. Like Alabama, like this is the first year Bama is going to be playing a road game against a Power 5 opponent since they did it against Penn State in 2010. Yeah, and I hate that they do the neutral site because they do the one and done. It's like, guys, go play a home and home.
No, Saban does that for recruiting. He goes to Dallas. He knows what he's doing.
I know why he does it.
He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah,
I don't blame Georgia as much, considering we're joining the league anyway, so it's like, but like they're not guaranteed to do it. If we get to the end of June, July, and we're still play the game, let's just go. Yeah, we're gonna play in Athens at some point anyway, so might as well do it now. Might as well play it next year.
It'd be just finding the replacement that would be the biggest one. I mean,
if we do, it's gonna be a bitch opponent. It's like we're not gonna replace Georgia with someone worth a damn.
I'd say Georgia Tech. We never played them. Let's get somebody we've never played before.
Why Georgia Tech?
We've never played them.
Yeah, but it's not going to do anything for our schedule. The reason the Georgia game matters because it's something cool to circle on. It's like playing Georgia Tech. No one's going to care.
Oh, I know, but it's at this point, who do you get unless it's a big surprise at this point? Get somebody you haven't played.
Well, you know what I'd do if they haven't officially joined the league yet? Go get UCF. They'll come play.
You just want so you get a home game or UCF not 5.
I want you to come to the bounce house, man. Let's do this.
It's not the bounce house anymore.
I'm 2 miles away from the stadium. Come on now.
You can go to the away game. Actually, claim it as an away game.
2 miles.
You and Eric can both go.
Yes. Eric would probably be covering the game there, but I'm literally 2 miles from the bounce house, and I would like to go. Like the word around the campfire is like if we have a temporary 14-team league, OU and Texas will not be playing any of the 4 new members. Because they Big 12 has made that pretty clear. It's like they want all the current Big 12 teams to have one last shot at OU in Texas. So they're going to make sure we don't play them unless we absolutely have to.
Here's a question for you. And I remembered this one from a while back because we mentioned the cupcake games and we mentioned that. I had someone once tell me that they appreciate it, not because it's a cupcake game, but because they feel as a fan, they feel like they're priced out of every other game at this point. And that's the only time that they can legitimately, for $20, bring their kids with them and them actually experience a game.
Well, that's what Kansas is for.
Well, who do you replace in the SEC for the outside of Vanderbilt?
Listen, that's like that's not like those are two different arguments. That's an argument you need to have with like the administration and Joe Castiglione, the athletic department, or whoever runs the ticket office. Like, I know that sucks, but at the same time, it's like, like third-party sellers are going to not charge a lot of money for Missouri State. I totally get that. You're not going to charge. Well, UTEP might be different because it's Brent's first game, and people might go. Or you'll get like $10 tickets in certain sections for Kent State. It's probably going to happen. But like I don't listen. If you gotta play one, fine. You can play one cupcake game. I get it, but I think we're moving to down the road. We're going to have the super leagues. Like everyone's like, I think the SEC is going to be the foundation of that. People's like
forerunners. Yeah.
No, but the big schools are going to like, it's going to be like they're joining the SEC, but they're not really. It's going to like, we're just moving closer and closer to
64
to however many we're going to be like. Here's what's going to happen.
That's what I was going to ask you.
In the middle of the 2030s, the ACC is going to die. Like,
so you think is that? I'm not trying to interrupt you. I was expecting you to say the Big 12. Keep the two coastal. Coastal.
Well, I mean, yeah, the Big 12 is dead. Well, no, that's a given. Big 12 is dead. Is dead. Is a zombie conference.
Gotcha.
But no, I think the ACC is like going to be dead by the mid-20s. They have such a huge contract that they'll just let it play out. The ACC will basically break up in the mid-2030s. The Southern teams will finally join the Southeastern Conference. The Georgia Techs, the Clemsons, the Louisvilles, the Florida State. They're going to come home, where they're going to be part of the big region where they belong. The northern schools will join the Big Ten. The Big Ten will absorb. I think the Big Ten is also going to absorb like the Pac-12. I think that's going to happen.
Really?
Yeah, because they're basically like partners in everything they do anyway. So I think you'll take the schools that matter over there. You'll get SC, you'll get Washington and Oregon,
Utah.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. I don't think that's a given.
Stanford.
Yeah, Stanford will probably be on there, like Stanford, Cal, those teams. So I probably the whole league. So you're gonna get like two giant super conferences at one point. So it's just the way things are going.
It's going to be kind of like the Super Bowl, where it's they basically will break it down. Then it's going to be the North versus the South, and like potential, well, maybe a playoff. I guess that. Then if that's the case, then at least for now, if the FCC goes with the 3 model, who would be OU's opponents then? Because the one is Texas. That's obviously who our permanent rival is going to be. Who would be the other 2 then if it was the 3-6 model? That would be our permanent people. A&M, Arkansas, Missouri, like any of them from there.
Hang on a second. Oh, someone had a funny commitment video. Never mind. It wasn't for us.
Lame.
Well, in my dream world, I would have OU, Texas A&M, and Arkansas. That's not going to happen though. I want A&M to be a permanent opponent because I love playing and beating A&M, which I think will be. It's a tradition that needs to be renewed. I think they could easily. Some people think Florida is going to be a permanent opponent for us. I just don't see that because Florida has too many for permanent. Like Florida is going to want to play Georgia and Tennessee every year. I don't know if they're going to play us per se. People throw that out there. Like, I think they could do the easy thing and just give us like the Big 12, like the Big 12. Like it'll be OU, Texas A&M, and Missouri, or Arkansas, or just a combination OU, Missouri, Arkansas, and Texas. That feels like it could be realistic. I don't know. Like, it's not going to matter too much anyway because we'll be playing everyone, anyway. But I would just love to play A&M on a regular basis. I would just like, because A&M's not going to be. It's not going to be like this. Oh, they got a monster recruiting class. So Tennessee had a really good recruiting class one year, and it wasn't compared like on paper. Like, that's the thing people got to remember. A&M has a great recruiting class on paper. It's one of the best I've ever seen. All right, are they going to produce?
8-4.
Like, when people ask me, aren't you scared of A&M? And aren't you scared? It's like, this is the school that fucked up Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
You fucked up Kyler Murray. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Like he was like he's the greatest high school player in the history of the state of Texas, and you can't make Kyler Murray work.
Yeah.
So I'm not scared of A&M long term. It's like, oh, all these players. Like, okay, so much talent gets wasted at A&M. At least in Oklahoma, we don't win national championships lately, but goddamn, at least we win Heisman's. Put guys in the league. We at least make a little noise.
Yeah, and they actually get to,
last time they made noise
NFL.
last time they made noise where it actually kind of mattered was 2012 with Johnny Manziel. That was it. We beat Bama last year. Yeah, last 4 games though. You didn't do shit.
Yeah. Yeah,
you like Texas when they beat Oklahoma. We beat Oklahoma. Yeah, what'd you do with it?
Speaking
like only 1 year have you done something with it. Like 18. You won a Sugar Bowl. Congrats. We do that too.
Yeah. Speaking of A&M, I wanted to ask you something. I wanted your thoughts on this because it's been in the back of my mind for about a week now. I saw a comment that said the butterfly effect. If one of the Hurricanes did not change A&M's schedule, they would have won the Natty in 2012. And that by the end of 2012, as it is now, they were the best team. I'm like, no, you weren't. You weren't even in the top 10. Like, yes, you beat us.
No,
you
I remember
had a schedule, but Johnny
No.
Manziel peaked.
Well, no, you lost to Florida and LSU. Sorry.
They said, if they had their game before Florida, they would have beat them. I'm like, no, you wouldn't have. Not at all. No, you wouldn't have.
What? Like, listen, Manziel played great in both at least the Florida game he played okay, but you still lost.
Yeah. And
if you don't lose to LSU at the end of the year, if you don't fuck that up, you go to Atlanta.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, they are convinced they would beat Alabama again in the championship. I'm like, bros, Bama went on a warpath after that. You weren't beating Bama. They would have destroyed you guys.
Look, they whooped our ass at the Cotton Bowl. I'm not going to deny it. Like, it was just, that was just, we had no, that was like, we needed some changes to be made. And then we needed more changes a couple of years later. But it was like, because what a sandwich year that 2013 was. But regardless, A&M, like, they had 2 nice little years of Johnny football, but they can't figure out quarterback at all. Mm-hmm. They don't develop quarterbacks at A&M. It doesn't matter I know Jimbo's there and they think he's going to do great things, but I think his paranoid ass is going to screw something up. And until A&M is an 8-4 program, until they're not, I don't care how greatest recruiting class ever. Right? They're not going to help you this year. Most of those guys aren't going to do shit this year. You think like true for like I want a Gabe Dindy more than anybody. I don't know. Is he going to be Tommy Harris good? Is he going to be that kind of impactful? Maybe. Like one of those guys could possibly, but like, I mean, Bama and Georgia are the kings of that conference. Last I checked.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to like A&M. You're 3rd or 4th place. Like not even that right now. Could you win your division for like while they still have them? Could you go out there? Win a division? Like, do you have a quarterback that's dynamic enough to win you a football game? That's all I'm asking. No, like, I have to see that first. You dumb fucks almost lost to Colorado last year. You should have been a 5-loss team. Colorado was incompetent last year.
Yeah.
Went on the road, almost lost to Colorado. God, that was painful to watch. So, the Mike Leach is good for at least one upset win a year, even though turns out it's not really an upset. Remember the pandemic year beat LSU. Yeah, we beat LSU. Oh, it turns out they suck. Hey, we beat A&M. Turns out they're just above average.
They're 8-4. Well, and that's the thing I saw with the A&M comment.
But yeah, you raise your beat Bama banners in a regular season game, and Bama still went on to win the SEC and play for a title. So, and you they didn't even play in their bowl game last year, which again shows you how important these bowl games are because they didn't play. Their biggest bowl win to this day is still that Orange Bowl in a pandemic year. Finally, we won a New Year's 6 game. Woo! It was like, good God.
I have a dumb question, and maybe I'm just jumping to conclusions on it too much. Is Texas A&M just the Oklahoma State of the SEC at this point? Where they will raise their banner to beating number 1, but don't do anything with it.
Well, no, they're more cultish than Oklahoma State, which is hard to believe.
Are you sure they have the paddle people?
No, they have a cult mindset down there. I mean, that little murderer Kyle Wittenhouse is going to Texas A&M. So
no, they said he's actually not. He's
not now.
Yeah,
okay.
They said nope, we're not letting you in. I'm
like,
really?
Wow, A&M has standards. They say no, we don't want the murder. We don't want the little piece of shit murderer to come to our school. Wow.
Yeah, at least that's what I saw on it, where they said no, we are not accepting him for it. So I saw that and I thought it was more of we don't want to deal with the drama. It's just not worth it. But
if he don't have that corrupt judge in Wisconsin just holding his hand throughout that whole trial, he doesn't get off.
Yeah, A&M announced about 3 hours ago that A&M said no, he is not coming.
I'm going to travel to another state and murder people because I'm whatever.
Yeah.
Little shit should be in prison. So that's my political talk for today. Kyle Wittenhouse is a little piece of shit, should be in prison because he murdered people in cold blood. Yeah. Anyway,
but with A&M though, are they? I mean, we talk about that, but they do the exact same Aggie thing that Oklahoma State does.
Oklahoma State's been more successful football wise than A&M when it comes to stuff.
And what
they don't have a Heisman Trophy lately, mind you. They have arguably the greatest Heisman winner ever, Barry Sanders. But no, like Oklahoma State wins New Year's 6 games, dude.
That's fair. Okay, that's fair. Because I was gonna say, but have they actually done stuff? You bring that up, like, okay, that's fair. And they've actually been to a Big 12 championship. That close.
Yeah, that close.
So no, okay, you have a fair point with that. Got one more thing for you, then we'll wrap up, Sean. How are you enjoying the mod? Because I wanted to ask you about this on your PlayStation 3 with NCAA 14. Because I want to know, how many hours have you vlogged?
not as many as you think.
Really?
I mean,
you talk it up so much.
Well, I mean, I figured I'd talk. I promised someone I'd talk about it because, like, here's the thing. I have not begun. I've only scratched the surface of it. Here's the thing with this mod. Like, I haven't done the playoff thing yet because what you have to jump through some hoops to make that work. You have to save your game. I got to upload the save file onto my PC and run it through a program. And I haven't done that part yet because you have to have another program to convert the file, and it's like a pain in the ass. So I just haven't had the patience to do that yet. But as for the game itself, it's like got a fresh. It's like it has a fresh coat of paint per se. If you're a uniform guy, it's like a godsend. So I've played more than my fair share of games with the Rough Rider uniforms just to see them, and it's fun.
Do you like the Rough Riders in general? Is that your favorite alt uniform?
Yeah. They've grown on me. You know what? You know what helps like make you like a new uniform when like Samaje Perine runs for like 240 yards on like West Virginia and like the year they debut them and stuff like that. So
yeah,
that helps. I've tried those out and played some big road games. Like if you're a fan, like they're constantly updating this thing. I need to get that program so I can you can tinker with the game yourself if you know what you're doing.
Yeah. But you had the jailbreak, didn't you? To make it work.
Yeah, I jailbreak. Well. I put it off for the longest time because I was like, I don't want to brick my PS3. I don't want to do that. Thankfully I didn't. But yeah, like they have updated logos. They have I'm trying to think what else. Like they have a lot of like current real players placards, like loading screens. The problem is the latest update
has Caleb probably.
Yeah. And it's like, fuck, I keep looking at his face every time there's a loading screen for OU.
Yeah. God, I figured that. I was like, how close are they?
Sucks so much. But yeah, it's fun. It gives me another reason to play like another 60-year dynasty because like I've played like 5 or 6 60-year dynasties over the years. I put a lot of mileage in that game. They've added new stadiums. They've imported stuff from Madden and tried to recreate that. They've tried to have the Lucas Oil for the national. Like they have so when you play the national title game, you have like you have updated on-field logos and stuff. So that's cool. They don't have the actual in game for the trophy, where you still see the crystal ball, but when you have a trophy, when you win a trophy and the game says, "Here's your new trophy," it actually shows the new one. So
yeah.
So it's like in your trophy room, you'll see the new trophy, like the lipstick or whatever you call it, the pen holder. But
that's what I call it.
So you'll see that, and they have the Big 12 trophy, the stick shift one, as well.
Oh, I like the cereal bowl.
So when you see the on-field celebration, you'll see the glass bowl, but you'll actually see the stick shift trophy. But just at the end of the day, it's a good holdover till the new game comes out next year. And one day I'll get a PS5 when I have the combination of I have the money available, but are they in stock? And usually it's like, oh, it's either one or the other. Oh, it's in stock, but I don't have $500 to drop. Oh, I have $500 to drop. Oh, but it's not in stock. I just don't have the patience for it, and I don't play video games as often as I used to. Yeah. And if I do, like, the only two video games I care about getting in the future is the new NCAA game when it comes in next year, and the new AEW video game whenever it drops. Although that's going through development hell right now.
Yeah. Well, and it's going to be interesting too what is going to happen excuse me, with the NCAA game, because EA is looking to merge with Microsoft most likely for it. So is that going to speed up development? Is that going to change like what Microsoft's going to do? Like, is the Xbox going to get more features in the PlayStation? Is it still going to be multi-platform? Who knows at that point?
I don't think so. I don't think so. No.
And it's also going to change. Will it be on Game Pass?
I don't know. Like, again, those are questions for people who play for do other things, play games more often than I do. Because, like I said, I never even got a PS4,
right?
So I just never cared to. So.
Yeah, but here's my question to wrap this all up for it. If, in theory, EA would sell to Microsoft, but you get a very good product out of it, like,
I'm not buying an Xbox. Like,
no,
it's never happening.
But if you get all the stuff from it, are you okay with EA not developing it anymore because of the jokes that have always been with Madden as of late, or because of like soccer, where it's just literally the exact same game, just changing the title?
I don't know. Like, EA's already got the license to develop it, so they're gonna make it, and it is what it is. So,
gotcha.
I got nothing. I don't know what to tell you.
No, I was just
I don't know how to answer that question, because you're asking me about mergers and stuff I have no knowledge of, and doesn't really affect my day-to-day life. So it's kind of like my main focus right now is I have such a busy June, because
really?
because you got the World Series this week, which thankfully OU will, assuming they win tomorrow, will be a part of. And then I have social commitments for this week and next weekend.
Yeah.
And then I got my con I'm doing, because I can finally do my panels, and I gotta finish putting those together. And then I gotta keep making content for the channel, because we're close to football season, but we're not close enough. We're in that in-between period where I'm just like, please let news happen today I could talk about, so I can have it. Like, thank God for a commitment today, because I was going to do just a softball recap. I was going to take because I was like, I'll take the day off, watch Stranger Things. Oh, we have a commitment. I got to stop everything I'm doing and talking about a commitment. But who's message? Oh no, just Warriors won. Who knew? I haven't watched it. I have watched zero NBA playoffs this year.
Same here. I have stuff on in the background with it, but
I've watched hockey more. I've watched the hockey NHL playoffs more than I've watched the NBA,
because hockey apparently has been good this year. I've had a friend pay attention to it.
Well, it's funny when it's on ESPN and it's on TNT and it's on networks you've heard it before. It's not on NBC Sports, a channel that you may or may not have, and it's like out over there somewhere.
Yeah,
funny how that works when you put it on channels people know about and have access to, and you can
exactly.
Watch it.
It's like people will watch if you show it.
Like
imagine that.
Lightning stole one from the Rangers tonight, so that was pretty cool.
See, if people watch it though. So Sean, I want to thank you for joining tonight again. It's always a pleasure having you on, guys. Remember to comment, rate, subscribe, hit the notification bell. We always enjoy y'all popping in, throwing your comments and questions in the chat. Next live stream, I think it's going to be the June 19th. for it. I don't know what the topics are going to be for it at this point, but we'll know it's going to be a slow season. We have 2 weeks before then. So, but we'll be getting into July very soon. So, John, thanks again. Boomer Sooner, guys. Only one Oklahoma, and we'll see y'all here in a couple weeks.